and then go from there.
And go from there. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I ended up flipping it again, adding some more of that maroon color, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of how it's coming together on the yarn and what I'm going to do from here on out. Okay, so you can see here that we have a really nice level of saturation of that deep maroon color that we see in the photograph. So let's grab the photograph and you can see down at the very bottom of those tail feathers, we have that nice deep maroon color happening. Now, something that is going on here in the photograph that I really love is how that maroon is kind of melding into this kind of like a toffee caramely color into this mustard color here, and then of course we have these like goldenrod yellowy oranges on the sides. Well, this portion right here, this kind of lighter maroon, it's got a little bit of you know, like I said, toffee. That is going to be, or actually what I should say is this kind of color bleeding that we have happening here is going to be really great for blending with a nice toffee, maybe a little bit of a terracotta to create that color that we're seeing happening right here. So I'm really happy about that. You always get some kind of bleeding in the water when you add dye. No matter how deep your water is, the more shallow the water, like I mentioned earlier, the less bleeding that you're going to have. The deeper the water, the more. But I'm actually really happy. This is pretty minimal, and this is really going to help me create that color that bleeds into that pumpkin spice color up towards the top here before it hits that gray and that white section. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to add some more color now, working our way up, and then we're going to work on that really beautiful goldenrod. That's going to be this layer of yarn here that we'll add to the water after we finish this layer down here, and then what's left at the end will be for our gray. So let's go ahead and start working our way up this gradient of color into that mustard and pumpkin, and then we'll go from there. I am so happy with this. I feel like we have a really cool kind of, I don't know, beautiful blending, like this maroon and how it's blending into this beautiful golden pumpkin color up here is just spot on. Again, this photo is not the greatest, but if, you know, I'll show this, and I'm going to pop that other picture right up here on the screen, and you can kind of compare the bottom of the feathers and how that color is kind of blending here, and I think it's so beautiful. So this is the first layer I've done of the this like kind of mustardy color that you see happening up here. So I'm gonna flip it over and we're gonna see what it looks like underneath what we have here. So there's going to be color that's gone all the way through to the other side, but there's inevitably going to be yarn that hasn't picked up the color very heavily, so it's going to be much lighter. That actually might be beautiful, and so I don't know if I want to, when I flip it over, I don't know if I'm going to be adding any more color or not. We're going to see what it looks like. But just look at that, and look at the consistency between these batches here. It's beautiful. I'm also thinking that where I want to incorporate this bright goldenrod color right here, I want that to be incorporated into the color divide right here. I think a bright burst of that goldenrod color right here before we have that gap and then that charcoal gray, I think that's just gonna be, ooh, so beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead, let this sit for a few minutes while it exhausts the rest of that dye, and then I'm going to flip them over and we're gonna see what it looks like at that point and go from there. Okay, so I flipped it over, and what I've discovered is that there's much less of that toffee color on the flip side than I was expecting, which is fine. But what that means is I'm gonna go ahead and add another layer of color here on this side, but I'm thinking that I don't wanna add the same variety of colors that I added on the other side to get that that toffee color. I want to add something else to add a layer of dimension, but to still continue to achieve this happening right up here. I don't want to do something different or outside of the color family, but I might want to add something different than what I was physically adding on the other side, just to add another layer of dimension. I'm thinking that I want to go with maybe something a little bit more on the mustard side, maybe a little bit of something that's a little more on the brown side together to complement that toffee that's on the other side here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that to this side, and then we're gonna move on to that beautiful goldenrod color divide that we're gonna have around here. As you can see, like these little kind of clefts that happen. We're gonna add some goldenrod color in there. So I'm gonna do that now, see how that comes out, and then go from there. Okay, so I moved the yarn down into the water a little bit more to leave space for that goldenrod color I was mentioning. So you can see here, right here along this divide, and I can even pull this in a little bit further. I want some of that white to come down into the yarn so I can add that golden yellow color that's gonna be popping up right here. There's some space for it here, over here, and that's gonna kind of be where we play with this color as well, especially bringing out that same color that's happening on the crown right here. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna add that there. Once that's done, I think I'll be ready to decide how we want to go about this charcoal gray, and I really think it's going to be a dip situation. But let's go ahead and add some of that goldenrod, golden yellow color to that portion and see how it comes out, and I really think it's just gonna brighten it up. Not like it's not bright enough already, but it's really just gonna add a beautiful dimension to the color. So let's do that right now. Okay, so you know what I discovered is a possible place where I can incorporate my black speckles, and I think that it could be really amazing. So it's hard again to see here in this picture, but there are these spots right here and little places throughout these feathers down here where there's hints of black coming through. So these feathers underneath here, which I'm assuming is kind of like a base, like a a layer of feathers underneath this top layer that you see here, there's black coming through there. And as I was looking at what I have here in the pans, I was thinking that a real light layer of black speckles could be just what it needs to take it that one extra step. Okay, so here we are right now with what we have, and it's beautiful. We have that really beautiful deep mahogany color happening down here. I'm gonna use my spoon because it's really hot. And then we have that really rich pumpkin color going on up here with lighter places. I'm thinking a really pale, not pale, excuse me, but a real light speckling of black right in here on just one side would be gorgeous. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Just one little layer of black speckling happening right here on just one side. And I think that could be really, really amazing. Okay, I'm gonna do that right now.